Coming up, we're going to plant a yellow raspberry, and I'll show you some of the techniques that will help yours thrive.
If you're new to our channel, don't forget to hit the subscribe button.
So we're going to plant a yellow raspberry here, and we got this from our local independent garden center, Blue Mel's Landscape and Garden Center here in Milwaukee. Now, a couple of things you want to note on the label. It's a yellow raspberry called Fall Gold. The important part here is the zone. We're in zone 5A. This is rated for zone 4 to 8. It is recommended that you get a plant that is at least one zone colder than where you're currently at, because we get some very, very unusual cold snaps in the winter. So if we had this plant and was only rated for zone 5 and it got to zone 4 cold temperatures in the winter, it may not survive. So that's a good guideline for any perennial plant, shrub, tree, fruiting, whatever. If you're in 5, try to get one at least at 4. If you're in zone 5, go down to zone 4. So the raspberry plant here, and this is for most berry plants, this is the old cane. That's the fruit. That's the woodiness there. That's the fruit that's producing berries this year. This is the new growth. This will produce berries next year, and then we'll trim this off most likely. Now in nature, it kind of takes care of itself. So we're going to plant it in the same depth in which it is in the container. And you can see in the container, if I move this back, this new growth is already putting roots on as it's growing. And you want to plant these 18 inches apart from one another. We're going to put it in the center of what used to be our traditional ground garden, and then this will shoot off runners, not as aggressively as you may think, but it will shoot off underground and then pop up new canes in the coming years, and that's how the bed will expand naturally. You can get multiple plants and kind of accelerate this all at once, but we're going to go ahead, and what I'm going to do, I've dug, this was a very weedy area, so I dug a 2-foot diameter hole about 1 foot deep, and then sifted through with the garden fork to make sure I got most of the roots out. This is going to be here for many years to come. The weeds will come back. For at least now, I've got a good clean slate to start with. So I'm going to dig the hole about a little bit more than 1.5 times that diameter and at the same depth, and then we'll get this thing in the ground. All right, so I've got my hole dug about 1.5 times bigger. It is a little deeper than what I need it. You want to plant it at the same depth in which it's in the container. Don't go any deeper, don't go any shallower, because it can affect the production. You can actually kill the plant. This, for example, like for strawberries, if you plant it below the crown, you're actually going to suffocate the plant. So same thing here. All right, so let's take this thing out of the container, and very nice roots. I'm going to tease them slightly. This is a thorn raspberry. There are thornless blackberries varieties, but I wanted the yellow, or sometimes they're called golden varieties. You can see here on the roots, let's take a look at the root system here. This is of the older cane, and then the shorter white roots here is of the newer cane. So you can see how it's all in the pot, not root bound at all. Things look very nice. Now you can, and what I'm going to do is at the time of planting, just put some slow release fertilizer in the bottom of the hole. During each growing year, you can add organic matter, compost around the top, fertilizer, whatever. Just kind of mimic what nature does. They take care of themselves. So based on the conditions and what the plant's telling you, you may have to do alternate means of supplementation for the nutrients of it. So we're going to plant this. There's no real, I mean, if you wanted to face or whatever, it really doesn't matter on this for us, because you know it's going to get trimmed each year. So does that look good? Let me cut the label off just so there's no real issue, and put that right there. I'll get the, okay, so now we're going to backfill, and it's really that easy. This will settle, and I will need to come back in here and address the soil that has settled. We are going to get a lot of rain, so that will naturally allow the plant to settle. And I think mulching options, you can do a lot of things. You can use wood chips, shredded paper. We're going to use some straw here and just cover around just for moisture retention as well as weed suppression. And then I'll pull this back after we get some rain, see if I need to add more soil. And then in the fall, we'll come in here and we'll layer a lot of leaves down as more organic material to feed the soil. And that's how you do that with the mulch. Pretty much it. Now, you do not need to necessarily structure or have some type of trellis for this. However, back home on the farm, we had big spans of blackberries in a garden, and we would put T-posts and multiple spacings and have thick fence wire, and those canes would lay on it to make it easier to pick the berries. So if you do have multiple plants, you could go that route and create some type of structure in which they can lay on and assist the plant as well as you harvesting. So planting a raspberry plant, a blackberry plant, all falls under the same instructions. So thanks for watching. As always, rate, subscribe, and comment.
For more information, please visit thewisconsinvegetablegardener.com.